What is up, Scrub fam? I am back today with another video. This is an update to Vegeks. Unfortunately, we had Turles banned from the deck, which I think we all saw coming just because of how powerful the card was and how powerful this deck was in general at dealing with opposing unisons. And I think it was a good change. So this deck that I'm about to show you isn't degenerate at all. I don't think it's degenerate in the slightest. I think it's actually incredibly fair. This is also not the version of the deck which Sandy has popularized. The video just came out today for them. Very excited for him. He built another very powerful, busted, aggressive combo deck, and I think you should check it out. I'll make sure I put a link down in my description below for that video. This deck is actually taking you through a different thought process when it comes to playing Vegeks, and is a route that not many people have taken, and I am talking about playing a more mid-range strategy. Major reason why is the top line, progression through existence. This deck gets to progress the game without having to do anything. Just by merely being on the board and being in the game itself, the game is going to continue to progress in your favor. And the thing is that makes it more busted is that when you have the ability to shuffle back in your drop area into your deck, you kind of just create this constant engine of inevitability that you're going to get to that threat, you're going to get to that finisher, and you're always going to have access to what you need to have access to, whereas the opponent is subject to the draws off the top of their deck, and if they can get through their own deck in time to find all the cards they need. So you kind of get into this unique scenario where, since we're just playing the game by just existing, if we can make the game go on long enough and we keep our life total higher enough, eventually our opponent will run out of threats and ways for them to beat us. And so this deck is really truly trying to capitalize on that. So a lot of the card choices are going to be different than the aggressive version, and so I'm going to go into the list. So first thing, we're playing a full 16 copies of all of our cards that can be played from being milled. So we're playing our 4 Unisons, 4 Kai of Time, which is almost like another super combo. If you have 5 or less cards in hand, cards are very good. 4 Time Agent Trunks, free blocker, allows you to self-awaken. 4 Time Agent Vegeta, 19k threat, has removal built into it as well if your opponent has threats on the board that you want to get rid of that cost 3 or less. So in general, you have all these free cards, free advantage. The Unison is probably one of the most important cards, because if it comes down on turn 1 for free, getting that extra 1, that Unison in play, and then plussing it 2 going to 3 makes it really difficult to kill, and then kind of helps you take over the game, because you're always going to have a threat on board, if that makes sense. Like, you're always going to have this 15k that's swinging at your opponent and is always threatening the ultimate, which is the plus 20,000 in dual attack for the turn, combining with your leader skill to make it double strike 2. So you always have that threat. And then the rest are just straight value. It's just straight real estate for just being there, for just existing, for just showing up to play. So keep that in mind as we move forward. And again, like I said, this deck is a mid-range deck. We are not trying to kill the opponent in the first couple turns. We are trying to control the middle parts of the game, keep our life total high enough to then establish dominance, and then take over the game slowly but surely, closing it out at the end. So let's go into the rest of the deck itself. So one thing that I wanted to do is, since I'm playing this more mid-range shell, I figured that great value in being able to give yourself energy sinks, Son Goku The Adventure Begins is awesome. So number one, being able to play it as a 1-drop, since there's not too many 1-drops you can play in the deck itself, unless you're playing, other various cards or blockers, or you're playing your Unison on turn 1. Son Goku The Adventure Begins gives you a turn 1 play that is going to get you some value back, because you'll be able to get that 4-star ball, put it in your hand, and then you always have combo fodder for the turn. So being able to play Son Goku The Adventure Begins already is playing into that strategy of building that kind of like, the exact mid-range shell we want, of being able to protect our life total, and then it always gives you something to do with 2 energy. Because for 2, you can tap it, and then you can actually play the 30k Narirama just anytime you need to. Anytime you're in a pinch or you don't have a threat, you're always going to have access to 1. And then, of course, 3 4-star balls. Then we have 2 Narirama, as I said, to be able to tutor with our Son Goku The Adventure Begins. Playing 4 Power Burst, because I think it's like the best negate, because number 1, it can be used with sparking, and then also it can get back your Son Goku The Adventure Begins, it can get back your Son Goku Making Entrance to establish a negate loop, it can get back your Tech 1-drop and Dark Power Black Mass Sam. So you just always have the ability to have access to these cards, which is really cool. So then we're playing 2 Son Goku Making an Entrance. Since we're milling our deck, we're going to be able to find at least 1. And I feel like 2 feels like a good number when you combine it with 3 copies of Son Goku Saiyan Transcendence, because you're always going to have that Making an Entrance to get it into play, so you can get your Saiyan Transcendence down. So we're playing 2 copies of that, and we're playing 2 Dark Power Black Mass Saiyans. If we were playing a full 75 cards, the other 2 copies would be in the sideboard. You might want to make space for these in the main deck, because if you're ever playing against the Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan mirror, if you're playing against the Vegeks mirror, you're going to want to have Dark Power Black Mass Saiyan in play, so you can play more copies, but we're playing 2 right now. playing 3 Deborah Darkness Perfected. So this is one of those things where it's like, what do we do when we no longer have access to Turles? Like, how do we get that free advantage or that extra 15k attack? And honestly, going through the card pool, Deborah is a great addition. So counterplay, it's only going to cost you 2, and then during your opponent's turn when you play this card, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and it can attack or activate skills for the duration of the turn. So that means if your opponent plays anything, you play this card, you target it, and it can no longer attack, and it can't activate any of its skills. So that's very powerful. So let's say you're playing against the Vegeks Mirror, and they play their Vegeta Zeno on turn 2, and you're just like, okay, well, Deborah in response, I'll choose it. It can't activate its effect, so it's not going to be able to get that Splintering Mind. Or you're playing against any deck in general, you're worried about a threat, or you're worried about an Obuni being able to activate its skill to, untap their energy for the turn. Just in general, Deborah Darkness Perfected is a really underrated card and helps maximize on our Negrishis. So that's another thing. We're playing 4 copies of Negrishi now, because since we're not going to really be able to access VR easily without overextending into cards that really are situationally good, we're playing 4 Negrishi because we have Narirama as a target, we have Deborah as a target, and we have Time Agent Trunks as targets. And you always have a Negrishi to get your Trunks off the board, so you then can play another Trunks if you mill it. So it's important to play 4 Negrishi and helps us continue our pressure. And again, this is just a part of that, progressing just through existing. That's what Negrishi does. So we're playing 2 SS3 Tag Team Son Gohan. You could play more copies in the deck if you wanted to lean into Viara. I really like only playing 2 just because, number 1, card's incredibly expensive right now. Number 2, since it has that ability, you can only have 1 in play. Playing 2 feels just about right. We're playing 2 Hatchiyak Hatred Everlasting. Reason why, we're playing a deck that mills itself, so we're always going to have one of these in the drop area when we need it. And then number 2, you're only going to use the activate main to mill yourself extra cards situationally. So I think 3 copies was good in the versions that were trying to awaken ASAP, but since you're not, only having 2 copies, you're going to find it. 3 Son Goku Saiyan Transcendence. This is the card that's going to help get your, your Time Agent Trunks back from your warp to your drop area. It's going to help you get your draw cards back from your warp to your drop area. It's going to do everything you need to kind of keep all those resources stocked full right before you end up awakening and turning your deck over and restarting. So we're playing 3 Son Goku Saiyan Transcendence. It's also a 1 energy 25k double striker that combos well with Anilaza the Towering Atrocity, which is one of the way you close the games. So you can create a really dominating board state where you have Saiyan Transcendence, you swing with a double striker, you then can play Anilaza, swing with a double striker, you then have your Unison that you can use with leader ability to make it double strike. So you're going to close out the game in a hurry once these 2 cards come down. So I really like this strategy. And again, we're just getting this value for merely existing. Next thing is going to be closing it out. So Black Smoke Dragon, Eternal Evil. So you can play Negative Energy Overflow, the Dragon Balls. But since we're playing this mid-range deck, we want a big end game, and you want removal, Smoke Dragon feels like the best place to start for 5 energy. I know it's an ultimate, and I know it's something that be countered by God Sealing Trunks, but there's not too many cards that stop this from working. And I know God Sealing Trunks is the worst, but I don't think blue is going to be able to survive early within this format. So Smoke Dragon makes a lot of sense here, and just being able to play this. Get rid of all your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barriers, so it's really good in any heads-up matchups against black decks. It's good against any sort of yellow deck that's playing stuff on your turn, being able to get rid of their board, or, milling your opponent for 7, drawing 2, or choosing 4 cards in your hand to send to their warp. It's the exact equalizer you want in this mid-range strategy to kind of help you close the game. Then, since we're playing mono black, we can't play any of the Ape Saiyan Instincts, so we're playing 3 Fu Mission Accomplished. So reason why this card is so important is because for 2 energy, what I like about it versus having a draw ape is it gets you exactly the card you want, which 9 times out of 10 is going to be a Bibbidi super combo. So these Fu Mission Accomplice is going to equate to extra Bibbidi super combos. Since you're a mill deck, you're not always going to have your super combos. So being able to always access them is very important. So Fu Mission Accomplice is what we're doing to do that. Then we're playing 2 Majin Buu Wickedness Incarnate. This is just a draw card engine that synergizes with Saiyan Transcendence because you can move this from your warp to your drop so you can activate it again, and just helps keep your hand stock full of stuff you want and helps you get through your deck. And then of course 4 Bibbidi super combo because it's the best super combo basically ever because it's gigantic, and with this deck, since we're playing a full 60 cards, it's outrageous. But anyway, tips in playing the deck: your life total staying high is incredibly important. Keep that in mind. The higher life total is, the more you're disrupting your opponent, the more resources you're accruing on the board, the more you're just winning the game by barely just existing. That's exactly what this deck wants to do. So take that approach when you're playing this deck. I'll make sure the link is down in the description below for Shinran's Lair, and like I said, I'll also put a link down in the description below for Sandy's video because I think his deck is incredibly powerful. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this take on Vegeks. we'll have more deck profiles come up soon, more gameplay videos. But anyways, thank you so much for subscribing. Check out the Patreon. We posted a free article today on death and taxes. So anyways, have a good weekend. Okay, thanks. Bye!